Well, good afternoon and welcome to Let's Talk on WIN TV, where this week we have invited four inspiring and insightful guests who are going to have hopefully an amazing discussion. Join us as we celebrate their achievements, shed light on important social issues, and explore topics that matter. I'm your host, Denise Rollard Barnes, publisher of the Washington Informer and host of Let's Talk. You all may remember that we were calling this WIN TV, but we decided that we were going to let WIN TV be the name of our channel. And I am channeling my late father, Dr. Calvin W. Rolark, who wrote a column for almost, I'll say 30 years in the Washington Informer called Let's Talk. And it was an opportunity to do what we do, and that is to not us talk, but have conversations with people in the community so that we can see what's going on, raise our voices, inform folks, and hopefully engage and empower those who want to see the places where we live and the things that we do make a difference in the lives of everybody. So having said all that, our guest today will be Dr. Milton Lawler, an Auburn man from the Fathers Incorporated and organizers of the upcoming 2024 Father of the Year event. And they're going to be shedding light, not that we don't already know, but shedding light on the importance of celebrating fathers in our society. So looking forward to having a conversation with them. And then we'll speak with George Lambert, President and CEO of the Greater Washington Urban League, who's joining us to discuss the Urban League's history of empowering the local community. We also have Reverend Larry Walker of the Montpelier Descendants Committee and Yola Lewis Dance of the Montpelier Foundation, and they're going to share their efforts in memorializing the descendants of Montpelier and honoring their history. It is Black History Month, folks. And finally, we're going to wrap up by diving into the world of streaming platforms with Neil Nelson, Chief Executive Officer of Destah, who will give us a sneak peek into their innovative Black movie network. Want to remind you all that on Sunday, February the 25th at 1:30 p.m. at Ambassador Baptist Church at 1412 Minnesota Avenue Southeast, there will be a documentary, a screening, and a discussion on Berry Farm. You all know that the community, which was one of the oldest, if not the oldest, Black communities in the District of Columbia that has an amazing legacy, has been razed. The houses were razed, demolished, in other words, to bring in a new what do you call them? I guess business, housing, community development down in Anacostia Park. And I say down because it's down the hill from where we are right now. And but we're so glad that there have been folks who've come together to tell the story in the communities all across this country that were once Black owned and where Black lives mattered, where people were able to raise their families and own businesses and what have you, that no longer exist. But the stories of how those communities actually contributed to the life of African Americans are being told and documented in films. And so I'm rambling on, but I want to make sure that you get out to see the Berry Farm film screening. Again, it's Sunday, February the 25th, that's this Sunday, at 1:30 p.m. at Ambassador Baptist Church, located at 1412 Minnesota Avenue Southeast. So if you want more information, go to empowerdc.org. That's EMPOWERDC.org. Hope to see you there. So before we jump into our conversations, want to make sure that you pick up a copy of this week's Washington Informer. And, you know, I always like to show the print edition. We've got an interesting story this week about a family or families whose children end up in foster care, and how sometimes families lose rights. And it happens so often within the Black community when children are taken away from their homes for whatever reasons, good or bad. Well, never good, but, you know, for reasons that the families are taken away, but also what happens when those families want to become reunited with their children. And Black families seem to have the hardest challenge. And then there's so many other stories that we have in this week's paper. So you can pick up a copy. We have over 600 locations in the DMV where you can get a copy of the Washington Informer. But if you prefer a digital edition, visit us at WashingtonInformer.com. That's one word, WashingtonInformer.com. And there you can we invite you to subscribe, to become a member. It's free, of the Washington Informer, and you'll receive our publication directly in your inbox, along with our daily news updates from our exclusive newsletter, Win Daily. So go ahead and sign up and become a part of the Informer family. You know, I just heard today that I'll just say this. I just left Miami, where the Knight Media Foundation is talking about ways in which we can save local media. And while WAMU, one of our well listened to radio stations in the DC area, continues to share news and information with us, they have decided to close the door on DCist. And that is something that concerns many of us, because DC is a place where we've also always had lots of media that cover our community, but that community news is drying up. And there are only a few, maybe the Washington Informer is one of the few that still is focusing on local community news. That's one reason why we ask you to support us, to sign up for our newsletter, to subscribe to our show here on YouTube, to follow us on all of our social media channels, which include Facebook, IG, X, formerly known as Twitter, TikTok, Threads, Nextdoor, LinkedIn, YouTube. Wherever you find us or wherever you are, look for us and subscribe, friend, and most importantly, share. Please share with your friends and family and everybody else, because we want to continue to do our job at serving this community, which we have been doing now for the past 59 years. We'll be 60 years old in October, and we want to continue to serve this community. So if you subscribe to us on YouTube, on the YouTube channel, you'll go to Washington Informer TV, no spaces, all one word, Washington Informer TV. And we certainly look forward to having you as a part of the Informer family. And there are a lot of things that we do throughout the year. I know we just finished our MLK parade. We had great issues, our African American heritage issues. We're doing our spelling bees. Our Prince George's Spelling Bee will take place on March the 1st at the Clarice Smith Performing Arts Center at the University of Maryland. So if you just want to see some kids really show their spelling skills off from Prince George's County, join us at the Clarice Smith Performing Arts Center at the University of Maryland. We'll be there around 6 or 7 o'clock. So come on in. And then we're going to also, we sponsor the DC Citywide Spelling Bee. That's going to take place later in March, but we'll be broadcasting that from the Office of Cable Television, and we'll announce when that's going to take place. And we're getting ready for our annual African American Heritage Tour. This will make, I think, our 11th year of doing, or 12th year of doing the African American Heritage Tour. We've been to some great places. So we will be announcing our next location very soon. So we're busy. We're really busy trying to not only inform, but to serve the community, and partnering with organizations as well to help promote what others are doing in the DMV. So with that, let's bring on our first guest, who is actually no guest. It's Curtis Knowles, who does our weekly news broadcast. Curtis, take it away.
This is Win TV News, bringing you the news that matters.
2 Maryland residents were found guilty of trying to defraud Apple out of millions of dollars with fake iPhones from China on Tuesday, according to the U.S. Department of Justice. Hao Shun-sun and Pingfei Shui, both Chinese nationals that were residing in Germantown, Maryland, were charged with mail fraud in a U.S. district court after trying to exchange counterfeit phones for real iPhones from Apple retail stores and service providers. The investigation found that both Sun and Shui submitted more than 5,000 fake iPhones to Apple for exchanges during their mail fraud scheme, which could cost the tech developer more than $3 million. The pair could face up to 20 years in prison. The DC Tool Library, a one-stop shop in the Petworth area where residents can borrow woodworking, construction, and gardening tools at no cost, has recently fallen on hard times, and the community has answered its call for help. Over the last few weeks, the library on Taylor Street Northwest, which lends out everything from screwdrivers to power tools, was broken into several times, and more than $10,000 worth of tools were stolen. The library started a fundraiser with a goal of $15,000 to cover the cost of the stolen tools, improve security, and buy insurance. And as of Monday evening, the library has raised over $16,000. And the library is hoping to reopen by mid-March. Biden administration revealed Wednesday its decision to automatically forgive $1.2 billion in student loans for 153,000 borrowers. Those eligible for debt relief are individuals enrolled in the SAVE repayment plan who have diligently made payments for at least 10 years. The Department of Education said it would email those who would receive the debt cancellation Wednesday, which is another step in the administration's ongoing efforts to address the nation's staggering $1.7 trillion student debt crisis.
Thank you, Curtis. And another thought I want to bring to your attention as we talk about the Washington Informer and our wonderful staff. Curtis Knowles is a graduate of Bowie University. He graduated over a year ago, and he's been working with us ever since to produce these weekly broadcasts. And so, we are doing our best to try to create opportunities for aspiring journalists. Some of us are soon be moving out, and we want to move them in. And again, community news is so important. And so your support for the Washington Informer allows us to provide these opportunities and to actually folks get paid. We're not volunteering. There's no such thing as volunteering almost anymore. But, for them to come and get this experience. And we certainly do appreciate all the great work that they do. And we appreciate you for supporting us as we continue to give them these opportunities. So again, let's move on to our first guest, for real, for real. I am so honored to bring on Dr. Milton Lawler and Auburn Mann of Fathers Incorporated. Dr. Lawler, how are you?
Fine. Thank you for having me.
Good.
Having
good.
us.
Yeah. And is it Mr. Mann? How are you?
Oh, Auburn is good. Just
Auburn,
like the university.
Yes.
I'm doing pretty good.
Good. Yes, thank you. So I'm glad that you all could join us today. And it's never too early, even though Father's Day is in June, but it's never too early to talk about fathers and the great role that we know that they play in our community and why they should be recognized. And so tell us a little bit about Fathers Incorporated. And the history of the Father of the Year awards. And I'm not sure who to throw that question to, but whoever wants to take it.
Yeah.
Please
go
do.
And take that, Auburn.
Okay, yeah. Fathers Incorporated is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. And it was started in 1987 by our founder, Ernest Whitson. And the basic reason for Fathers Incorporated, we have a vision. Basically, the vision is to kind of save the traditional American family. And that encompassing that the actual tradition, we have and that's the vision. We have a mission, which is brotherhood, manhood, fatherhood, and gentlemanship. Now, brotherhood, we're saying basically setting up behavior, establishing behavior. And that's what we look at of selected fathers, or I should say candidate.
Well, that's. Oh, I'm sorry.
No.
You go ahead, Mr. Mann.
Okay, I was gonna say, we have manhood. Basically, is that look at an individual who is fulfilling or has the responsibility of being a man in today's society, taking responsibility for his behavior, actions, and contributions. Fatherhood is basically that role of being a good father, where you also not just to your family, but you displaying that role or that model in your community, in your neighborhood, on your job, your business. Gentlemanship is basically that treating people fairly, male, female, with respect, when you're talking to them or just in the conversation or in the way you interact with them in general.
Wonderful. Mr. Lawler, Dr. Lawler, if I could ask you quickly, You all have a Father of the Year event. I mean, how can someone put on a piece of paper, if that's the criteria? How do you judge or determine who should be a recipient for an award?
Well, based on the nominee from family members or someone that the father knows, they fill in the gap. So they provide the information, and our evaluation committee will evaluate that information, compare it against the criteria that we have listed on the site, and make the determination on who fits the bill. And I think since the inception of the award, we've fairly identified many deserving fathers, and it's just one of those things where we know what a father should be like. Some people don't know what a father should be like, and lately we've been receiving very deserving nominees from Hampton Roads, down the Norfolk area, and the local area as well.
You know, it's interesting when you say knowing what a father should be like. One of the things my mother and I often talk about is that, you know, some people become a mother or a father and there's no book, right? There's no lesson plan. So or evaluation sheet, you know, it's just prayer, right? So I guess when you say knowing what a father should be like, that's an interesting point that you're making. And how do you decide what a father should be like? Who's making that decision?
We really have to move from the model that most of us grew up in. And I want to acknowledge that your mother and your father, I followed them. I arrived in the area in '86, and Calvin and Wilhelmina Rolock were pillars in our community. And they set the example for what a family should look like. Most of us, like me, grew up in the 50s, 60s, and the father model, we couldn't replicate that father model because, first of all, we didn't have the economic support, we didn't have the skin color, and our culture was different. So in the 70s, as the Black movement started to evolve, we started to define a different father, more Afrocentric father figure. And through the years, we were able to support that. But now it appears that most people are more interested in playing cops and robbers instead of business leaders, political leaders. So the founder of our organization, Ernest Woodson, he used his example of growing up. His mother raised 5 children, wheelchair bound, and she served as mother and father. My father passed when I was 11, and it kind of hurts a young man, me in particular, when no one picks you up. You know, no one wants to be around Milton. No one wants to be around this guy here. So, you know, like when you come across a father figure, you know it, you feel it. He just gives you that assurance that, hey, you don't have to worry about it. You're a man as far as I'm concerned. And that's all you need is that assurance from another man saying that you're a man or you're a young lady and you're ready to tackle any issue in the world because I got your back. And
I want to,
Okay.
oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No, I was going to jump in really quickly because actually my mother is watching the show. Wilhelmina was my stepmother. And
I'm sorry.
yeah, no problem. But that's, you know, that's kind of what, when you talk about the new model or the older model of what fathers are. And, you know, today there are a lot of younger men really who are opting out of becoming husbands and fathers. Maybe because, well, let me ask you, why do you think that might be the case?
Okay. Well, can I answer this? Okay.
Sure.
Okay. I think the case is even when we went through the racial inequities and discrimination and all that, we still, like I said, I came from a two-parent household. You know, father was World War II combat veteran. Like I said, myself, and I think I know Ernest, I think Dr. Love, we're all Vietnam area veterans. But we had that. I guess I was born in Virginia in the South. We had that traditional role: mother, father. You know, boom, and that's what you're supposed to do. You know, 18, you military or college or job, or you got to get married. Different times people got married and had families, but there was a traditional role. And that role seemed to work. You know, I guess throughout the years, you know, in the society, things have changed, but that role did work. Now we had to face of discrimination and everything, but the thing was, you were raised, you came out, and you did what? You established a family. You know? And it follows certain rules and guidelines. That nobody's perfect. Things happen. Life gets in the way. But you know, but those traditions, they seem to be effective. I mean, you look at just in the political leaders, the ones who have an established family, you know, father, mother, children, following traditional roles, seem to have less problems. And I guess
unless your last name is Trump. I just want to
say. Well, there's always exceptions to the rule. I don't care what you do in life.
We got lots of wives and children and all kinds of stuff going on there.
Yeah. But again, like I said, it seemed like we've gotten away from that. You notice basically the increase in violence,
yes,
racism, you know, and we have always had that stuff. It's just people have gotten more bold in doing it, you know.
Right.
Well, let's worldwide, not just in this country, in the community, but fastest up around the world.
Yes. I think we're going to end up having, as we move closer to June, really having a probably a longer conversation about fathers in the community. But how can folks apply or be a part of the Father of the Year event? Is there a place where they go and submit information?
Yes.
What are you looking for?
We have a website, fathersincorporated.net. You go on there, you'll see everything, including who the board members are, the mission, the goals. You'll see basically how to apply, because there's a nomination form. You go in and fill it out, and the person nominated is usually a family member, could be a friend, could be wife. We've had that in the past, and you can also donate too. Like I said, we are a nonprofit. Okay, you donate, and we'll have a telephone number that's on the website. You can call, and if you can't answer your questions on the site, you can call in.
Does it cost to register or to apply?
No, it doesn't.
No.
Okay.
No.
And what's the deadline?
March the 31st.
Okay.
And the reason for that, because we have an upcoming Father's Day award ceremony scheduled for June the 14th.
Okay.
Of this year.
Wonderful. And where's that going to be? I'm just curious.
Okay.
We're still determining.
It's still determining the site.
Okay.
And location.
All right.
But it's encompassing the Washington, D.C., I'm saying Montgomery County, Prince George's County, the local, but also include Northern Virginia. So basically the DMV locale.
Wonderful. Yeah. Wonderful. All right. Well, I want to thank both of you all for joining us and for having this brief conversation about the fathers then and fathers today. We're going to have more of that conversation coming up in the future, because it's important. You talked about the family, and that's what I think is so very important. So we appreciate you coming on, and hopefully you'll get some great applicants, and looking forward to who that person is. It just going to be one person, one father, or do you do more than one?
We select. We have a group of nominees. If we select that one father,
okay.
We meet and we select they meet the qualifications that I mentioned: gentlemanship, fatherhood, brotherhood. Okay, and once they meet that criteria, we basically screen applicants and everything.
Right.
And select the nominee.
All right, wonderful.
And the prizes are they receive a cash prize as well as a trip for the family to a resort down in Florida.
Wonderful. Okay. Yes. All right. That was the carrot that we needed to get those applications in. All right, gentlemen. Thank you so very, very much. Yes, sir. Mr.
But just one more thing.
Yeah.
Right now we have flyers out, and also billboards out in Northeast and Southeast that are, you should be seeing in the near future.
Wonderful. Well, we're going to be promoting it as well in the Washington Informer. So looking forward to doing our part to support this. All right, you all gentlemen have a great day.
You too.
Enjoy the weekend, and thanks for coming on.
You too, and be safe.
All right, you too.
Take care.
Father of the Year. Well, we're going to bring on a great father who has, I've met two of his sons who are quite dynamic young men. Mr. George Lambert, President and CEO of the Greater Washington Urban League. Welcome, George. How are you? I think we need to unmute yourself so we can hear you.
I was saying good morning, Denise Rolock Barnes, and I wanted to begin by saying thank you for telling our stories for almost 60 years.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I mean, you've been doing what you do for a while as well, and fortunately, you've been able to tell the story, and so glad that you're joining us during this Black History Month as we talk about the legacy of the Greater Washington Urban League. And I think I want to start by, how sad we all were when we lost your predecessor there.
Maudine Cooper, yeah.
Yes, Maudine Cooper, not so long ago. I mean, I know she hasn't served for a while, but she was a staple in the DC community and really did a lot, including that building that you're in there.
Absolutely.
I don't know if there's something you wanted to say about her before we.
Yeah, I succeeded Maudine in 2014 and definitely stayed in contact with her. She was certainly a mentor, a good friend, but a mentor to me for many years as well. You're absolutely right. The league is very blessed. The building that we're in now at 2901 14th Street was a building that on Maudine's watch, and then also board chair Jerry Moore, their watch, to really kind of put us in that building. So the Urban League does have a home there. We're very delighted. I know that oftentimes many nonprofits struggle to have a home base, but Maudine had a vision to do that. And so we're very thankful. And the work that we do there, we still credit her that all of it happens out of that building. So absolutely.
Yeah, that was quite an effort to get that, and I know you all are very proud. It's a beautiful building. Plus, you've been able to provide a home for other organizations that needed a place to do business as well. So let's talk a little bit about the Urban League and the Greater Washington Urban League. And I mean, maybe I'll even start with that. Because we know the National Urban League, but how did we determine the name Greater Washington Urban League as opposed to just the Washington Urban League?
In fact, it was the Washington Urban League at some point.
That's what I thought.
Of a dinosaur. Yeah, I'm a bit of a dinosaur, so I do remember that. But again, back to my
predecessor.
Back to my predecessor again, Maudine Cooper. Maudine, quite frankly, did have the vision when she became president and CEO of then the Washington Urban League to expand the footprint into Prince George's and Montgomery County, therefore changing the name to the Greater Washington Urban League because of the expansion of our footprint. And so that's why it became the Greater Washington Urban League. We're delighted that we do have a presence in both of those jurisdictions, doing some work, but we want to do more in both of those jurisdictions. And even with one of our honorees this year, have certainly supported them in our advocacy portfolio with regard to helping them to continue to sustain themselves and have some viability in their community as well.
I know we're here to talk a little bit about the Whitney M. Young Gala that's coming up, but that's one of those programs where it kind of highlights all of the programs that the Urban League does. And if you could just give us a little, I guess. What's the word I'm trying to use? Tell us a little bit about all the many programs that you do. There's so many, and then how that kind of bubbles up to the gala itself.
Well, first, I'll start by saying to you that we have what I refer to as 5 business lines, so to speak. So housing, workforce development, entrepreneurship and small business, financial empowerment and inclusion, and then, of course, social action. And so that is the work that we do. We have a very robust, I would say, housing portfolio, help persons become first-time home buyers in the city, do housing counseling in the city, and so many other things around emergency housing as well, and so many other things around that particular portfolio as well. But probably somewhere around about 12,000 clients a year come to our doorsteps for support in terms of their needs. And we're so blessed and honored that we have many partnerships, but particularly with the District of Columbia government. We have a major partnership there where they support a lot of the work that we do at the Greater Washington League. Sometimes, folks will ask me, well, what is the relevance of the Urban League? And I tell them, I say, you know what? Ask our clients, because our clients and our customers, they really get it. They really understand it. We know that we've made a difference in their lives. We know that we have helped them to scale, and we know that we've had impact in terms of the work that we do with them as well.
I know when you talk about impact, I know people often talk about all the programs, but is there a favorite story that you have, George Lambert, that makes you say, this is what we're all about? That thing that happened that said, wow, this is why we exist. You want to share that with us?
Interesting you should ask that. I know within my first few months or so when I became president of the Greater Washington League, particularly the staff that manages our housing portfolio of first-time home buyers, they came to me and said, well, President Lambert, we've helped maybe 300 families become first-time home buyers in the city. And I said, data points are important because they are important. We have to share that information with our funders. But I said, but what I really want to get in my ear and what I would appreciate if you all would share more with me is the impact of that. And I explained the impact of that is that we've changed the net worth of those families. That's impact. Okay. And so that's what we try to really lead within our work. Yeah, we have lots of numbers and we can share all that data, but it's at the end of the day, it's about the impact. So for that particular business line, we've changed the net worth of those families, and we're very delighted and pleased that we were able to do that. One of my favorite stories. I have lots of them, but since you asked, that's one of them.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I've read some of your commentaries that you published both with us and in the Afro, and so I know, impact is important to you. You're just not out here trying to make money and trying to run an organization, but you want to change people's lives. And so I knew you had one there or a couple there. So let's talk about the gala. When is that coming, and why, and what's the mission?
So Friday, March the 15th, we're going to do it at the Ronald Reagan International Trade Center building. I got to tell you, we hadn't done a gala in about 4 years, since about 2018, 2019 or so, because of COVID, quite frankly. And as I've moved around the community since then, so many folks have said to me, well, when are you going to bring back the gala? When are you going to bring back the gala? When are y'all going to do it again? And quite frankly, it had always been what I consider the watershed event, because people, if you miss somebody, you haven't seen them for a year, guarantee you come to our gala, you will see them. And so we decided that this year we would bring back the gala. We had gone to a smaller event, which we were doing at the Martin Luther King Library, kind of a Courage Under Fire event. We were delighted we were able to honor you a couple of years or so ago as well.
Thank
But
you
we
so much.
decided, we decided by popular demand, I'll put it that way, we would bring back the gala. So after about 4 years, we're now bringing back the gala, and very delighted with the line of honorees that we're going to be recognizing. So first, Governor Wes Moore, and so pleased that Laura Coates from CNN will come. We do a fireside chat, so she will be the person that will really kind of engage him in that fireside chat about the great work that he's doing in the state of Maryland, which I mentioned earlier as part of our footprint, Prince George's County and Montgomery County. And then 3 local honorees. Chris Turner, who I know you know a lot about, you all probably did some publishing and writing on him, but served time in prison, is now out. And for him to really kind of talk about what that was all about, I've always said he has a powerful testimony. We need
Yes.
folks to come out and hear it, and certainly to be a part of it, and understand a tragedy so many times of what happens in our communities. And then also Patrice Sultan, who leads the DC Justice Lab. I had the pleasure of serving with her. We both served on the DC Police Reform Commission a few years or so ago. And but the work that she continues to do, fighting those many of those battles, which we try to support on the sidelines, so to speak, but fighting many of those battles, we're delighted to honor her. And then finally, um, a group called the Scotland Community. The Scotland Community is based in Montgomery County. They had about 200 acres many years ago. The grandfather bought the land. They're down. They don't have that much land there now. You can imagine the cost of land in Montgomery County. But they're still fighting the struggle to hold on to a church there. And so we want to, be supportive, help them to do some things so that they can sustain that community. So that's our lineup, our honors. I think it's going to be a great night. Of course, our young professionals, they will be doing their event, their thing, or whatever. We're very proud of them. And then our GWUL will come and support us as well. We give scholarships at that event. So lots of good things will be happening.
Well, one thing about the gala, which is probably why people miss it, like you said, it's like the Black family reunion that we all miss
There
that the
you go.
National Council of Negro Women used to do. You know, it's a time for people to get together. And during these times, and I guess you can probably attest to this, you know, Black organizations are under threat. And so,
Yeah.
you know, we need times to really kind of come together and network and share and honor those who are making a difference in our community.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad you're bringing this back. And then, of course, this also helps to support the programs that you that the Greater Washington Urban League provides in the community as well, right?
Yes, absolutely. You know, as I said earlier, we're very fortunate. Plus, we get great support from our funders, and most of those dollars are restricted dollars. But the gala helps us to really raise unrestricted dollars because we find every day there's so many unmet needs, things that we don't get funding for. And so these dollars give us the discretion to address many of those unmet needs as well. In fact, we have a fund now, it's called an emergency fund, but you know, a few years back we did not have that. And so it was kind of some dollars that came from the gala and other funding sources, we were able to put that in place. So that's what we use the dollars for, some discretionary dollars to address other unmet needs as well.
We put the flyer up, but we want people to know that they can still, I assume, purchase tickets unless it's sold out already. You know, there's some of these
Not quite
events.
sold out yet. We still have room, so come on and join us. Our website is GWL 365. You can go there and certainly find out all the information you want about the gala, but not only about the gala, but all of the other programs that we're involved in and the work that we do. And if you're interested in volunteering, I heard you mention something about volunteering earlier. Yeah, we do still use volunteers. Some
Right.
folks we're able to pay, but we have a lot of support and work that we're not able to pay, and been very, you know, delighted that volunteers have come to help us to execute on some of that work. Yes.
Before I let you go, because this is the kind of work that you do, if you were to point to something right now that you think was one of the biggest challenges or issues that you would love the Urban League to solve in DC, not that you can solve it all alone, but what would that be right now?
You know, Denise, I got to tell you, we have been active and engaged in so many issues. I mean, they're all kind of top of mind for me, so to speak, in terms of key priorities. I remember about a year or so ago, we got engaged in discrimination in algorithms. Not all the
Mhm.
folks are aware of that, but it is an issue. And so we've had a dialogue with the DC general attorney, hoping that he can jump in and help there as well. But it's an issue. I maintain it's an issue for us because we do have a very large housing portfolio. So to break that down for you, what does that mean? If you are going online and you are really trying to identify where you might be able to get a great loan, and then you put your information in regarding your background and all that. So you went to an HBCU, maybe you've had a bit of a credit, um, uh, blimp or whatever, and that algorithm sometimes will kind of forward you to a package that is a bit higher than someone else. And
Mm.
so we have to always keep in mind algorithms are done by individuals. I mean, we put that information in. So we maintain that it is something that needs to be fixed. And we're hoping that that is one that, you know, can certainly get turned around. The National Urban League has been involved in that issue with us as well. Uh, I got to say, because I always think about Congressman Norton, DC statehood is still very important to us. Okay. You and I are both native Washingtonians, so we get it, you know, we understand it. But
Mhm.
DC statehood is really very important. And so to the extent that we can help to push, you know, push the margins on that, we want to be involved and do that as well. And then for the Urban League movement, we refer to it now as the 3Ds, but certainly to defend democracy, to certainly defeat poverty, and to demand diversity. And those are kind of the 3Ds that we're working on. And we will continue to push very hard on those. So those are some of the issues and things that we are concerned about and where we will push and where we'll continue to be engaged. But we know that for us, you know, the future is at stake. And so that's where we want to make sure that we position the folks that we serve to have a future that they consider to be very comfortable with, and they will be a part of the process, not, you know, excluded from the future in the process.
Well, George Lambert, Jr., President and CEO of the Greater Washington Urban League, we're so really, really grateful that you were able to join us today to share information about the work that you're continuing to do here in the DMV and also this upcoming event. Thank you for joining us, and we certainly will look forward to talking to you again as we continue to tackle these issues that impact our community.
Denise, again, thank you so much. And thank you again, as I said, for telling our stories for almost 60 years. Appreciate
Yes.
you.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank you.
Okay.
Likewise. All righty. We're going to turn to sort of an interesting story when we talk about the legacy of African Americans in the DMV. I'm really excited to bring on Yola Lewis Dance and Reverend Larry Walker, who have been working really hard on the Montpelier Foundation and the Descendants Committee there. I'm going to ask you all to give us the background of this effort that you all have been involved in so long, and what this community is all about. So thank you for joining us here at Let's Talk.
Thank you for having us. Thank you so much for the work that you do to lift up the voice of the African American community in the DC region. We're very grateful for this privilege to share your platform to tell many people in this area, like my family, came to the DC area from Orange, Virginia, and places like Montpelier. And so we're glad to speak to our family here this afternoon. And I'm going to do what I was taught as a child, that ladies go first. So I'm going to let Yola start off Yola is, and I got to set this up for you. Yola is the first African-American woman to lead the museum site of a founding era president in the nation. She's the real deal. So I'll let her tell you a little bit more.
Well, welcome, Yola. Please go right ahead.
Yes, thank you, Denise. Thank you for this invitation. And thank you so much, Reverend Walker. I mean, it's been incredible joining the MDC and co-stewardship at Montpelier. I joined this amazing community of people in August of last year. And so much incredible work has gone into telling all American stories. So helping us to understand the history of the Constitution, and James Madison, who framed these ideas of freedom, justice, and equality, yet in the same place, 300 documented enslaved people are lived and labored on that landscape. And that descendant community is engaged in telling that story. So in co-creation, we do that work. I am a descendant of enslaved people and the first to serve as president and CEO of a presidential site.
It's amazing. Now help me so that we can it's funny, we do Washington Informal Charities does an annual African American Heritage Tour. And a lot of it is right here in the DMV because there's so much that we don't know about this amazing history that's been untold. So Montpelier is one of those places as well. I mean, some may know where it is, some may not. So give us some landmarks. Tell us what area we're talking about.
So we're talking about Central Virginia. From Washington, if you go, I live in Central Maryland, so I go down out 66 and down 29, and then I make a left at Culpeper and head down 20, and it takes you right into Orange, Virginia. If you go from DC down 95, you would make a right just about Fredericksburg, and that'll take you west into Orange, Virginia. I don't know the road because I don't go that way. But so we're in Central Virginia between Fredericksburg and Charlottesville.
Okay. All right. And go ahead.
I was going to say that was during the colonial era. That was probably one of the most fertile areas of economic development for this emerging nation. And many of the initial presidents and leaders came from that region. When you look at what we call the arc of the area, many came from that area. And so the Montpelier Descendants Committee, while Montpelier is the name and it's the home of the Constitution, we represent descendants of enslaved communities throughout the region of Central Virginia, because we recognize that during that period of enslavement, our ancestors were brought and sold to different people on different plantations. My fourth great grandfather, Benjamin McDaniel, was enslaved by James Madison at Montpelier. His wife, Patsy Pierce, and their children were enslaved at another neighboring plantation. So we represent descendants from the region, not just Montpelier proper.
It's an amazing story, and maybe might be on our list of places to go this year. Well, tell me about the memorialization project. What is that? Yola?
In co-stewardship, we are supporting the MDC and bringing together descendants to help inform the opportunity for not only our regional community, but our national and international community to come to the place where these ideas of liberty were born and ask difficult questions and honor and remember those who were buried there. So we know of 300 enslaved people who were documented at Montpelier. However, there are several burials on site, and that is a sacred space. And so this memorial will honor and remember those who were buried in that sacred space. And it's a real opportunity for contemplation, reflection, and we hope for healing as well.
So what will the memorial be? Is it a statue? Is it a building? Is it a museum? What is it?
Yes, great question. So we are working on that now. Our memorialization committee, led by a resident of the DMV, Henry Anglin, as the chair of that committee, they are working through the concepts of what that'll be. Now, our grant, the $5.8 million grant from the Mellon Foundation, is for us to build a structure, a memorialization structure on property. But our vision is far more than just a structure. Our vision is not only this structure that we're going to build is going to be informed by descendants and community. We are looking for firms right now, architectural firms, preferably African American firms, or firms with a good mix, because we want to be diverse, but we want to look out for people who have a cultural understanding of what we're trying to accomplish in honoring the sacred ground that our ancestors lay under. And so as we continue this development process and build out, our goal is in the next 2 years that we will have a structure on property, and then begin the fundraising. Well, not then. We're working on fundraising now to add even more, to build even more and bigger, so that this is an educational opportunity, not just a place for me to go and sit and reflect, but also for people to come and learn about the role and the contributions of those who were ignored in history books till now, the contributions that they made to the foundation of this country.
You know, I've been to. I'm a big fan of. I love Black history. I love our history, and no matter where I go, I try to find places to visit. And the times that I've been to plantations, they always have the house where the slave owner lived, and they can tell you all this, and they mention them as the slave owner, and then they say, yeah, but the slaves lived over there, and it's always a big empty lot. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing there to really memorialize the lives of those people, and sometimes there's cemeteries there that they don't even acknowledge. So right now at Montpelier, is there anything there that memorializes the 300 or so people that once were enslaved there? And I know that you're working to build other projects, but what exists there right now?
As you visit Montpelier, the award-winning exhibition, Mere Distinction of Color, is available, as well as an enslaved community tour of the actual quarters, which was a reconstruction made possible by a generous donation from David Rubenstein. And so as you tour the historic house, the landscape, the exhibit, and the slave quarters, you get an understanding of how people lived, how they contributed to Madison's wealth, how they contributed to the building of America. And what is really important about the memorial is it gives us an opportunity to think about their humanity and restore their humanity. And that will be new. At present, that area is a healthy wooded forest. And we will look into how we can memorialize and commemorate their contributions in a way that's careful and respectful of that landscape, but also honors their memory.
This is wonderful. I mean, my heart is just warmed by what the effort that you all are putting together to do this, and that family members, if I'm not mistaken, Reverend Walker, family members are involved in this. The descendants are involved in this as well. What can you tell us about how you all got together and are supporting this project?
Yes, absolutely. So in 2018, a grant was afforded to Montpelier to bring together academic scholars and museum professionals from across the diaspora to look at how they could position Montpelier differently than other museum sites. And from that, led by the renowned anthropologist, Dr. Michael Blakey, he and many others came up with a document that is called the Rubric for Engaging Descendant Communities. And it is the gold standard for what museum sites around the world now want to turn to engage. Montpelier knew that they had a museum, a burial ground on property, but following the rubric, they knew that they also should engage the descendant community. So they invited descendants in 2018 to come to Montpelier so that they could tell us about the burial ground. We returned back in 2019, and this happened Juneteenth weekend of 2019, and we established the Montpelier Descendants Committee at that point to be the official organ bringing voice to from the descendant community to the operations at James Madison's Montpelier. And so I currently am the president of the Montpelier Descendants Committee. We use the term MDC, but I also represent the descendants community as a board member on James Madison's, on the foundation board for James Madison's Montpelier. So I sit on the board at the place where my fourth great grandfather was enslaved.
How does that make you feel? I mean, how does that, resonate within you? It's got to be an amazing, experience, but I would love to hear it in your words.
It absolutely is. It's an honor. It's a calling, and it's something that I take with every fiber, because the work that we're doing now I want my fourth great grandchild to look back and see what role I played in, the Sankofa principle says we have to be able to look back before we can really look ahead. And so to be able to go back and bring to life the existence of my grandfather and so many others who made this democracy possible is something in this day and age, with all of the division in the country, I take very seriously, because I think we are establishing a model for the world of what it could look like in America if we truly allow everyone to sit at the table of fellowship and provide guidance for where we're going in the future. And that is something that is not easy to do, because there's a high wind of resistance in the current climate. But we continue to forge ahead, because Yola, all of us here have a freedom that our ancestors didn't have. Wow, and so we continue to forge ahead, and it's a privilege. Thank you for
On
the
that
question.
note, yeah, I want to thank both of you, Reverend Walker and Yola Dance, for being with us today. This is an amazing story. We wish you so much success. And as we are constantly hearing about statutes that are being removed, and then what goes in the place of those, and so that we're building our own memorials is just an amazing story. So we want to keep up with what you're doing. Don't be surprised if the Washington Forum of Charities brings about 3, 4, 5 buses down there.
Please let us know so we can meet you there.
Okay.
I would also quickly say that your guests, your audience, people who want to be part of what we're doing can join us at montpelierdescendants.org or at montpelier.org. Donate. We need your resources. We need support. So come on and help us do the work. Bring your voice.
Well, you've gotten some big grants, but like my daddy used to say, nobody can save us for us but us. And if it is to be, it's up to me. So yeah, if you got, I guess, anywhere from $1 to 25 to 1,000 to whatever, this is definitely something we're supporting. So I hope our folks will reach out.
I thank you. We need operational support. The grants are for a memorial.
Right, exactly.
We need support ongoing. So thank you again.
You're welcome. All right. And you all have a wonderful weekend. Thanks for being with us. All righty. Isn't that wonderful? That is such a great story. And having our African American Heritage Tour every year is just, we learn so much about our history and culture that we walk away feeling even prouder of the folks that worked and strived and struggled to get us where we are today. So speaking of that, there are people who actually putting documents, films together to continue to tell our story, a place where we can go and be us. So Neil Nelson is the CEO of Destah. I'm so glad to bring him with us today. Neil, welcome to Let's Talk.
Thank you, Denise. Good to be here.
Yeah, my pleasure. So, I mean, I'm sure when you heard that story, you were thinking, we got stories.
Indeed, we do. And it's an amazing story.
Yeah.
And, I love to tell it. One of the things that, as I was listening to your previous guest, it came to mind for me is that we are constituted in narratives, right? All people are. And the work of remembering ourselves, literally remembering ourselves as a people, putting us back together, is the work of remembering our stories and telling our stories, publishing our stories. And a part of the work that was done to try to disintegrate us from each other is actually to cause us to not remember our stories. And so, the most revolutionary act in that effort is to tell our stories so that our stories can be remembered for generations to come.
Wonderful. And so I guess, is that what inspired you to establish Destah?
Indeed, it is.
Tell us about what Destah is.
Yeah, so Destah is a AVOD streaming platform, which means that it's advertising supported, and you can get it for free as a end user. And the way we monetize it is through advertising. And we take it even a step further than that, but that's in a nutshell what it is.
And I mean, how do people? So what's on the site? What can people see when they go there? I know we talked about it's a streaming platform, but exactly what are you streaming?
So currently we're streaming movies and series and a few documentaries and also shows like this one. In the future, we'll expand it to include more shows like podcasts and things of that nature. Currently, most of the movies are independently made movies, Black-owned movies. So Black-owned studios across the country, mostly, some from the continent as well, that are on the platform.
I'm glad to hear that. So many people now are creating or making their independent films and with amazing stories. And I mean, some may look like, your 12th grade, your 7th grader went out with a camera, but sometimes those can be pretty good too, Right. You never know. Right. But what is the criteria? What kinds of films are you actually trying to show on Destah?
We want to tell stories about the entire breadth and depth of the Black experience here in the U.S., expand that to the diaspora globally, and then really humanity, because we want to put ourselves at the center of the world. And so to be at the center of the world, our stories need to be in the mix of the entire tapestry of human experience. And so we see our effort as being a little bit different from other platforms that may be primarily of a particular culture or only a particular culture. We say that the Black experience in the US and the world is really at the epicenter of the human experience from the very beginning up until this point, and it will remain so indefinitely. If you think about our culture broadly, hip hop music, for example, has become the popular genre, the main genre of the planet. It's a Black experience, it's a Black cultural content, but it's become a global content. We have not built the kind of platforms, though, to control the economics of that genre of music. And so in creating it, we are given that credit, but we don't monetize it as effectively. What Destah aims to do is to say, this is the center of our experience, the Black experience. These are our movies, these are our stories. We'll have other stories there as well, but we will always lead with our story.
And how would one access the channel?
You can access Destah in a number of ways. One, you can access it on Destah.com. You can also get it on your iPhone or your Android device. So we have apps on both those platforms. You can also get it on Roku. You can also get it on if you have Amazon Fire Stick or if you have Apple TV.
Now, I've been in the newspaper business. I hate to say 60 years, but when I was around when my dad started the Informer, and I know one of the challenges we have always had when you talk about advertising supported is getting enough revenue to sustain the business. It ebbs and flows. Sometimes it's really bad. Sometimes it gets a little better. How are you able to convince advertisers that this is something that they should invest in?
Right. So, I think that the advertising industry is, as you say, it is. And I think what we are fortunate is that we're in one of those windows where advertisers are looking for Black-owned platforms to do business with. And so because Destah qualifies, we're actually getting more attention now than at previous times. So if we had launched this pre-pandemic, we probably wouldn't have gotten as much attention as we are getting today. So but with that said, I think the crux of it for us is that we're launching as AVOD, but we intend to provide additional value and services for our community that can provide additional monetization opportunities for us in the future.
Like what, if you don't mind?
Yeah, so actually, one of the things that make us unique is that we're a reward-based platform. So we're building out a reward structure where for every hour of content you watch as a user, you get something back, a reward in return for that. What that will look like is that they'll create a e-commerce platform where you can trade in let's say your points earned from watching content to acquiring products and services that we will bring and we'll have in that e-commerce marketplace. That kind of structure allows us to sell more products and services that, if you think about this model, we're thinking about it from the perspective of Amazon and Prime, but in reverse. So you had Amazon and they launched and they have all those products and services, and then they provide you with Prime as a streaming platform. We're saying, well, you could have the platform, build the audience, allow them to transact through giving them rewards and points for their time on your property, and that way build up an e-commerce platform.
That's unique. I like that idea, and I want to see how that works for you. It sounds like it's people love, points are important. People love their points.
Absolutely.
And to be able to cash them in for something that they really like or would want or to support is fantastic. Also, your programming, is it how would you rate the programming? Is it family oriented or what? Who can watch?
Yeah, so it's a range of content. I would say currently it's primarily adult content, so 18 and above. But we are actually very uh, intentional in making it for the entire family. And one of the things that we're really excited about is the new technologies coming online with AI. We think that AI will allow us and our communities to create higher quality content at the current cost of doing so for our young people. As I mentioned before, what drives me as a person and why I'm in the media industry is that I believe that we are where we are in the world today as people of African descent because of the stories that's been told about us in the mainstream media globally. And if we are want to change where we land in the world, next generation, we have to be able to tell those stories that will incentivize our people, motivate them, inspire them to be their best selves. Because the roles that we play in society, we have found that in content somewhere. Every one of us is thinking the way we're thinking, acting the way we're acting based on some content that we've consumed, whether that's the Bible through your church, your Quran, through your masjid or your Torah, wherever you found a narrative that inspires you and shape your consciousness, you're acting that out. And so for us, being able to create content for the entire Black family is really is our North Star. It's what we're aiming for, is to get to that place and to do it so well that we help to create the next generation of our people that live up to the full expectation of our ancestors.
One of the things that, we're going to have to go, but you're based in Atlanta, right?
Yes.
Now, we all know who else is in Atlanta with that great big huge studio called Tyler Perry. But even in this internet space, in the streaming space, there's still room for others. And I just want you to talk about that. I mean, the fact that you're finding a space for Destah.
Yes, I think so. No, thank you for that setup, because I think that really what Tyler is doing, I think he's mostly on the creation side. He has distribution relationships, but he doesn't own the distribution. And I think that's the holy grail for us to really control our narrative, because there have been so many people that have been creating films and shows for over a century in our communities and around the world. And what's been missing is our ability to bring that content to our community at scale, domestically and internationally. And so for us, we want to have that mechanism. And I think that we see us really as being the part of the network of platforms that enable the next generation of Tylers to emerge in any city, anywhere in the world.
And my last question, thank you for that, Neil. My last question for you is, why Destah? What does that mean?
So
Tell us about the name.
Yeah, so Destah actually Destah comes from an Amharic word which means happiness. And so we want to create happiness, joy for our audience.
Well, thank you. Because we need more of that. We need more of that. So I appreciate you coming on and sharing this with us. Again, you said people can go to Destah.com.
Yes, Destah.com.
Okay.
You watch, subscribe. You could go to, again, we have an app on your app store, also the Google devices, Roku, if you have a Roku TV, if you have Amazon Fire Stick, you can download the apps on your television or on your phone or on your desktop devices.
Wonderful. Well, thanks so much for stepping into a place, where so many of us need to go, for leading the effort. And we appreciate you coming on and sharing this with us. And as soon as I get off, I'm gonna sign up. I got my phone right here, so I'm gonna do that in a few minutes.
Thanks, Denise. I appreciate you.
Thanks, Neil. All righty. Talk to you soon.
Take care.
All righty. So that brings us to the end of another episode of Let's Talk. We want to thank you for tuning in today, and thanks to our guests, Dr. Milton Lawler and Auburn Mann, George Lambert, Greater Washington Urban League, and Yola Lewis Davis and Reverend Larry Walker with the Mount Pillier Foundation Project, Memorialization Project, and Neil Nelson of Destah. We want to thank you for joining us and sharing your perspectives. Remember, change begins with awareness and dialogue. So let's continue to spark conversations, break barriers, and build a more inclusive future. Tune in next week for more inspiring discussions and impactful stories. I'm your host, Denise Rollard Barnes. Thanks for watching Let's Talk. I'll see you next week.